Oh, here we go.
Welcome to the Sports Hounds A2D Radio, A2D Live. Happy Monday, everyone. Yet another remote location broadcast. As you can see, Brad Ryer is here. I'm here. Frank Vesby's behind the scenes. We are joined by one of the most prolific goal scorers of the 70s and 80s, Mr. Dennis Maruk, an esteemed author. Dennis, welcome to the show.
Hey, glad to be here, guys.
All right, and as always, the Sports Hounds are brought to you by Ambuck Services. Contact them at Ambuck Services. Visit ambuckservices.com. They are the deck and gutter experts of South Jersey. We're also brought to you by Specialized Physical Therapy, Dr. Paul Fidel. He's our doctor. Make him yours too. 3 convenient locations. Visit specializedphysicaltherapy.com for more information. So, Dennis, once again, welcome. We thank you for your time.
No problem. Anytime.
I want to get to your book first and foremost. Then we can get into your playing career, maybe get some war stories out of you. But the book is called The Unforgettable Dennis Maruk, The Unforgettable Story of Hockey's Forgotten 60-Goal Man. And why don't you just explain why you wrote the book? Do you feel slighted? Do you feel like you're forgotten having scored 60 goals? One of 20 people who scored 60 goals in the NHL. Just take us behind the scenes of you writing this book, kind of the reasons and why you felt it would be a good to tell.
Are you familiar with Sportsnet, Ken Reed?
I am not.
Ken Reed in Toronto. Okay. He does a Sportsnet show on every night with Ivanka. And I did a golf tournament, a few other things with Ken, and he come up to me and asked if I'd be interested. And he wrote a couple books himself. And he said, "Yeah, I'm a writer, and I like to do a story or write a book about you." And I go, "You would? I got more stories to tell, you know." So we met a couple times. I was not real set on it, and we eventually went ahead through with it. It's ups and downs, and personal life, career, post career, all those kind of things, and it was a story of when you talk about the 60 goal scorers in the National Hockey League. My name does not really come up. It's you talk about the Gretzky, Lemieux, Curry, Bossy, all those guys, but my name, and I've done that with people, and it just got to a point where, is it because of where I played? In Oakland, Cleveland didn't get a lot of recognition, and then that's kind of where we kind of went with that title, and I thought it went really well.
Do you feel slighted? Do you feel like you should be more talked about? Do you feel like you're on the same level as those guys? Why? You mentioned where you played, maybe when you played, but can you put your finger on why you might not be talked about? You're kind of, as the title says, the forgotten 60 goal man.
Not only that, you scored 50 the year before that too. I mean,
yeah. So the record
30 goals a bunch of times as well.
And people say, well, they might think I'm complaining because I don't get recognized or something like that. I think it has a lot to do with the success of our hockey team not being successful, not being in the limelight. I had 30 goals my first year in Oakland. I don't think I really was talked about. And that was in 75, 76. So, if I did that in New York or Philly or whatever, or Toronto or Montreal, I think that might be a little different story. But that's just the way it was. And then we went to Cleveland, same kind of thing. Pretty productive there, and just the recognition was not there. And until I find, and then when I went to Washington, our team was not strong. And then I started doing the things, the 50 goals, and I started getting a little more recognized, got in the All-Star game and all that kind of stuff. So, those things are, you look back, I look back at that and I say, I think that was the biggest thing. I just really didn't get the recognition that I thought I should have doing what I did.
Dennis, do you think it's fair to say that you, and I think Steve Shutt is another one, are two guys that just, like, nobody ever talks about their 60 goal years?
Yeah, you're
in Montreal, nobody ever talked about him.
Yeah, you're right. There's another guy in that group that doesn't, and he got 70 plus goals, was Bernie Nichols. Bernie
Yeah.
Nichols is another one. But Steve Shutt gets more reckoned because he played where he played with Montreal, played
Yeah.
with
Wow.
great hockey players and won Stanley Cups and that. So
Dennis,
he's
you
in
had 200 points.
he's in a hockey hall. He's in a hockey Hall of Fame. But yeah, when I do a lot of events and that, when I sit at the table, I do a lot of charity events with Easter Seals and Special Olympics and all that. And when I'm in an event or I'm with a bunch of people and I sit around the table, I get into that and I say, now you guys are hockey fans and all about hockey. Who are the 20 guys that scored 60 goals in the National Hockey League? And if I was there, they wouldn't pick my name. They wouldn't pick Bernie Nichols. Those are two names that they leave out. It's amazing, isn't it?
It sure is. Sure is. Yeah, Bernie got traded to the Rangers. I remember, and they gave up Sandstrom and Granato, and that didn't turn out that great for the Rangers. Really, for him, he for whatever reason, he didn't play the kind of hockey he played in L.A. I don't really remember why, but it just seemed like maybe it was because he was the first line center and he didn't have Dion as the first line guy. I mean, maybe that was part of it. I don't know.
Sometimes you go to another team that just doesn't fit, and all that. Maybe, probably would have had a lot more better years in LA if he stayed there. But, a lot of times when you go to another city, it's just not the right personnel. The guys you play with just don't work out. And, it could be just a whole different city situation. So I think that's probably what happened. I don't think it was because he didn't want to play in New York. It just, this is the way it was, and it happens. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, he was a great player, but I just remember in Washington, I mean, every time you were on the ice, everybody would, it was nerve-wracking for the other team.
Well, I had a job to do.
It really was.
Score some goals and create some offense, and I know that during the time there wasn't a lot of success in Washington my first few years until we finally made the playoffs there and all that. But it was a struggle. There's no doubt about it.
Well, they were an expansion team. I mean, you have to remember that, and
right.
That it took them a few years. I mean, if do you think that when they made the playoffs after they traded you to Minnesota, do you think that if you were with the Capitals the year that they lost to the Islanders 4-2, do you think you could have made a difference? Because I think you guys could have beaten them if you were on the team.
I think there's a possibility. I think I would certainly be in a situation where I could capitalize and score a few goals and maybe change the difference of a couple of games. So yeah, that might have been, it would have been really nice. But they had a good team. They had a strong team, and the Islanders had a strong team too. So, I might have made a little difference, but hearsay. So I can't really say if it would have worked, it wouldn't have. But I appreciate the compliment.
Dennis, I'm a Flyers fan. Brad here is a Rangers fan. Can you talk about some of your memories playing those two respective franchises over your playing career?
Well, yeah. I mean, it was a battle. I will start with Philadelphia. I mean, as I said, we have battles every night. I mean, I know there's busloads of people from Washington would go down on the Spectrum, and I know when Philly came to Washington, they had busloads of people come to Washington, and it was so tough to play in the Spectrum. We just had they had a tough team, strong team. We were tough, and we're a goal scoring team as well, and just the games are really good. I mean, I remember scoring 3 goals against the Flyers and things, and it was really hard to play and hard to produce against that type of team. Their goaltenders were good. They were really tough in the blue line, and it was just the way it was. And and I got to play against Bobby Clark a lot, who was a great competitor. And we did after our post careers, we did an event in Toronto when we were going on TV, and we're just standing in the alleyway talking, and he goes, and if I can say this on the air, he goes, "You were a prick out there," and I said, "Well, you weren't too bad of a prick yourself," and and then he goes, "Well," he looked at me and he goes, "We had all the numbers up on the board of the Washington Capitals, and all we did was circle one number, and it was 21. It was your number, and we said, get him. If we can stop him, we're gonna chance to win the game. And I looked at him. I said, thank you. I respect that. So that was the situation there with Philly, and they had some great players. There's no doubt about it. You can go through the list a lot over the years during the 70s and 80s there, and then of course playing in the Spectrum there was tough. The fans were just crazy, and it was just a great place to play. And I really enjoyed playing on the road, and so I had some great games in Philadelphia as well as in Washington against Philly.
Was it an intimidating building to play in?
Pardon me?
Was the Spectrum an intimidating building to play in?
Sure, definitely was. There's no doubt about it because of the whole Spectrum situation, the team, how tough they were and strong they were. That the Philadelphia and Boston were probably the two toughest teams in the league at the time with the players. But it was intimidating. But you had to go do it. You had to go, and I call it survival because I wasn't a very big guy. I know my arms and legs were sore, but I know some of those guys that I played against, their legs and arms were sore too, because I had to give it back. And I think that's where I got a lot of respect, because I didn't take any crap from anybody, no matter if you're 6'4" or 5'4". It didn't bother me. So I would hit them or do whatever I had to do to succeed.
How about playing in the Garden? What was that like?
How about the Garden? Well, the Garden was, everybody wants to play in New York. That was the glamour city of, where the Hollywood and like L.A. But New York was, the ice was not the greatest, but the atmosphere was kind of neat. I really enjoyed it. I would always go downtown after the morning skate. I wouldn't even go back to the hotel. I would go down and I would go watch a movie. I'd look around, walk around New York, and then come back to the hotel, grab the bus, or I'd even go right to Madison Square Gardens. I tell the coach I won't be on the bus to go to the rink. I'll meet you at the rink. I really enjoyed going. I love traveling, and I really liked going to New York as a player because I got to do some things. I didn't like to sleep day of the game. I was I didn't like that. I felt I was too tired or too lazy. So I stayed awake and made sure I had enough sleep at night. But I remember the great players there, and Ron Duguay, of course. I do a lot of events with Ronnie. Was a great competitor, and of course, when they had John Davidson and net, Ron Gressner, Dave Maloney, those guys, and Murdoch. I went over to World Championship Team Canada with those guys and had a lot of fun with them. But there's one game in New York I remember a lot of them, but one game we're playing against Phil Esposito, and we were up 3-2. I had all three goals, and there's a face-off at center, and they pulled their goalie, and I had a face-off against Phil, and he tried to go through my feet with a puck, and I stopped it, kicked it ahead, and shot it into the net, and I got my fourth goal, and we won 4-2. To play against guys like Phil Esposito and Rod Gilbert and all those guys, and I was a young lad watching them on TV. It was an honor. It was an honor to play against these guys because of their success as a hockey player. And as a boy, I had a dream and got the chance to play against them on the ice.
Are those, you talked about some of the players it was an honor to play against. Are those players you just mentioned the best players you ever played against, or were there others?
I went through a bunch of different eras. I can tell you that. Of course, when I first broke in, I played against all those the guys that were ending their careers. Bobby Orr and Phil and the Cap. All those guys were kind of winding down on their careers. I think I got to play a couple of years with them, 2-3 years against them. So, and then I went into the Flyers, the Islanders, the Flyers. The Broad Street Bullies, the Islanders, and then. Then it was, of course, the Edmonton Oilers. So, I would have to say, Gretzky there's no doubt about it, a great hockey player that probably
better than him?
Greatest that played against. What's that?
Do you think Bobby Orr was better than him?
Well, Bobby Orr is a defenseman.
Right. Well, I know.
One of the
Probably the best
defensemen. Yeah, Bobby Orr would have to be up there. You got Gordie Howe and all that. But Bobby was, when I played against Bobby, he was kind of injured. He didn't have really the strong legs and that because he had so many surgeries on his knees. And, he was just kind of, you can see it was just winding down. But I never got to really play at his heyday. I watched him on TV, of course, like everybody else. But I would have to say that, of course, in that defenseman, he'd be probably one of the top, the best defenseman in the National Hockey League. Best player in the league. You can't name one guy. You look at Gordie Howe, you can say Gordie Howe, look what he did. And Gretzky and Mario Lemieux, you look at Bobby Clark, you look at Reggie Leach, what he did. Everybody had the different style, different things that they had to do out there.
Do you still watch hockey today, Dennis?
Oh, yeah. I still watch when nobody's watching it now.
Yeah, no one right now, obviously.
No,
yeah.
I follow it. I go down. When I lived in Toronto, I went to a few games, and when I would go down to DC and Washington. Probably went the Stanley Cup year. I was down. I go down 4 or 5 times a year to DC. I just go for the weekend games or whatever. When they won the Stanley Cup, I was there for the 4th game, and then they went to Vegas and won it. And I had tickets to go to Vegas and all that. And then I said, nah, they're not going to win in Vegas. They'll come back home and win in the 6th. And so that was kind of great. It was great for them to win the Stanley Cup. It took them so long to beat the Pittsburgh Penguins. They could never get by them. They could never get by them. And it was about time that they did. And they won in the Stanley Cup. And they've been so close lately, and so I'm an Ovi fan. There's no doubt about it. And I like the way he plays. He's electrifying. I've met him many times. We have a good relationship, and I still cheer for the Capitals, and I cheer for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I have to. I was born in Toronto and wanted to play for the Maple Leafs, but those are the teams I cheer for mainly.
How would you like to play against Alex Ovechkin?
Pardon me?
How would you handle Alex Ovechkin? He's just so big and tough to deal with.
He's powerful. I mean, a lot of people don't know how strong and how big he is. He's a powerful forward. There's no doubt about it. And have one of the greatest shots in the game. The best goal scorer. I mean, there's a lot of goal scorers, but you're not gonna change him. The only, can he? You probably come up with that question: is he going to break Gretzky's record? Who knows? I mean, that's kind of a tough thing. If there's anybody who's going to do it, it's going to be him. There's no doubt about it. But I call him. What do you call him? Rock star and then Crosby. I mean, Crosby's a great kind of ambassador of the game. Those two guys are the older guys compared to the young players, and they still got it. They still do what they do. They're leaders, and it's great to see that these older guys can compete with the young legs in the game.
How do you think the game's changed? This is the last one for me, at least. How do you think the game's changed from the time you played to what you see today when you follow the game?
Well, it's a young man's game. It's speed. It's finesse and all that. Our time when we played, it was survival. I think what the guys did, if the guys did today what we did, they'd be in jail. There's no doubt about it. Excuse my expression, but that's true because we cross-checked, we speared, we slashed two-handed, we hit from behind, we did all those things. You can't do that today. You can't. And there's very little hitting. It's all speed. It's an entertaining game for the fans, but and there's still a little bit of fighting. I think that you'll see that. You'll still see a little bit of hitting. Is the game any different? I think you've got talented players. I wonder if a lot of those guys today in today's game, how would they do during our time?
That would be
in our time. How would they do in today's game? So that's how I look at the game today. I look at what would I be like if I was playing in today's game. And I'd have to probably change my game because I was an aggressive small player that I would hit a lot. And even though I produced, I was an aggressive small player. And then I probably would have to change my game.
Well, Mark, Dennis, you like a guy like Matt Zuccarello. He kind of is the same kind of player you were. I mean, he was a guy when he played for the Rangers. He used to stick his nose in everything. What was he,
Right.
maybe 5'6" or 5'7"? And I'll tell you what, great playmaker. He could score. He could score a few goals himself too. Yeah, I think you were a lot better player than him, but that's kind of how I remember you. You know,
I call myself, yeah, that's great. Thank you. When people ask me a question, I kind of Johnny Goudreau, in Calgary. I
right?
think that,
Yeah, him too.
we're little guy in that. I'm a little more feistier than he was, but he doesn't give up. He doesn't quit. He works behind and scores goals, and I think that's how I kind of look at myself. But I agree that with Zuccarello, I met him in Toronto. They're playing the World Cup, whatever. He's with USA and all that. But I don't think he should have never left New York. He should still be a Ranger.
Yeah, I wish they would have kept him, but
Yeah.
that's
hockey. That's hockey.
Yeah,
That's hockey.
I know.
All right. Again, the book is called The Unforgettable Dennis Maruk, The Unforgettable Story of Hockey's Forgotten 60-Goal Man. It's available at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, wherever books are sold. Mine's on order. I'm sure it's a very fun read. I look forward to diving into that.
Yeah, it's a great read. You'll enjoy it. Yeah. Dennis,
be safe, and thanks a million for coming on.
Oh, anytime, guys. And stay safe, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate
it. Mr. Dennis Maruk, one of 20. So last week we had Andre on, who was one of 4 players who had 100 assists in a season. And now this week we have Mr. Dennis Maruk, who's one of 20 players to score 60 goals in a season. So a lot of hockey power on the sports.
Before the year before he scored 60, he scored 50. And I do remember
I scored 30 a bunch of times.
Yeah, they were making he's never going to do that again. And then he goes and he scores 60. I mean, that guy was a phenomenal player.
I apologize to some of the fans out there who put questions in the comments. We're getting around the 20-minute mark with them, and we can't keep them all night. So apologize for that. But Brad, we got a good show. Baseball has a plan. It looks like sports are coming back. NASCAR is getting back Sunday. Golf's having.
I hope so, because you know what? I mean, yesterday, I was so desperate. I actually turned on an MLS game from 2007 between the Galaxy and the Red Bulls because I didn't remember who won the game. And I was happy when the Red Bulls scored. I forgot how that feeling was that of watching a game and somebody doing something. I haven't had that feeling in a long time.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what I watched over the weekend. I've been a Netflix guy. I've been really getting some shows watched. I don't know. Old games just don't do it for me, Brad.
No, I don't watch too many. I don't watch too many old games because
unless it's a really, really unique game that I kind of forget some of the nuances to. I mean, I need the real stuff. I need the good stuff.
I agree with you.
And I haven't caught any of this Korean beat. Have you been watching the Korean baseball?
No. I mean, that doesn't do it for me. I mean, I don't know any of these guys. As soon as baseball comes on, you're not gonna see any of these guys. So it's kind of tough to watch. It's a tough watch.
Yeah. I mean, look. I mean, I'm not opposed to watching it. I would watch it if we were on at convenient times. But I work. You guys know I work weird hours, and I just haven't caught it yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of tough to watch that. It's on at like 1 a.m, isn't it? The Korean baseball?
5 a.m. or something. 5:30, like to 8:30 in the morning.
It's not exactly convenient if you enjoy sleeping.
Well, as you know, the quarantine has made time irrelevant.
Yeah. I got called back.
Some people, at least. I mean, I'm thankful to still be an essential worker at my job, so I have to work every day, which I'm thankful for because it keeps me sane and on a schedule. I don't know how these people are doing it that have to just sit in their house, not working, just waiting this virus out. It's got to be excruciating.
It is. I mean, I'm lucky. I just got called back for tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to.
So you're going to work?
Yeah, tomorrow.
Good.
So yeah. So
good.
I mean, now that it doesn't look like I have to worry about going to Yankee games on Friday night because I don't think there's gonna.
No, and
Now there's gonna be-
MLB released their plan. We're gonna get to that later in the season. Once again, you are watching the Sports Hounds. I'm Rob Brinkman. He's Brad Ryer. Brought to you by Ambuck Services, gutter and deck experts of South Jersey. Visit ambuckservices.com. More information on their services. Our poll question tonight brought to you by Dr. Paul Vidal and Specialized Physical Therapy. Visit specializedphysicaltherapy.com. He's our doc. Make him yours too. Brad, the NFL schedule came out. We're going to kind of digest that. My question to the people is the NFC East a one playoff team division? You can hashtag agree, hashtag disagree, get involved in the comments. We're going to read off all the comments tonight. So that's the question of the night. After this schedule, the draft, free agents in the books, is the NFC East a one bid division when it comes to the the upcoming NFL playoffs? Brad, I'll let you start.
No, I think it could be two because you know what? Right now, I don't think the Giants or the Redskins are up to the task of beating the Eagles and Cowboys yet. So if they both go 0-2 against both those teams, that's 4-0 for both the Eagles and the Cowboys, which means all they really have to do for the rest of the against the rest of their opponents is play 500 football. So 10-6 is not out of the question for both of them, and 10-6 can make the playoffs. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it.
And then remember, you have the extra wild card team this year.
Exactly. So I mean that's 10-6 should get you into the playoffs. As I said, I think the Giants are going to be a better team this year. I think that they will. I don't see them beating the Eagles or the Cowboys. I think that they'll give them tough games like they usually do. But again, I don't think they're quite ready for prime time yet. So again, you go 4-0 against those two teams, and then you split with the rest of the league. You should be okay. The NFC West is just such a hard division. I don't see anybody dominating that division. You know what I'm saying? I can't see anybody going 5-1 in the NFC West. I think the same thing goes for the South and the South. I think you're going to have New Orleans and Tampa Bay are going to be both real good teams. But I think that they're going to have a little trouble with the other teams in their division. I just don't see them going 4-0 against Carolina and Atlanta. Especially Atlanta. Atlanta has the ability to knock off any one of those teams at any given day.
Atlanta, getting back to the East for a second, I think it's a one bid. I think the Eagles are the only team that make it out of the East. I think they're the clear favorites in the division. I think they did enough despite my issues with their draft. I think the Eagles did enough to ensure them another division championship. You bring in Slay, you get a little younger, you get a little faster, you get Wentz some weapons. So I think that they're the favorites at 10 wins. I think they get in with 10 wins. Then I think the Giants are much improved. I think Daniel Jones is the real deal. I think Barkley, hopefully he can be healthy for a full season for you guys. And I love the free agents you bought in with Bradbury and Martinez. But I still see the Giants as kind of an 8-8 team at best.
Well, I'd like to see 8-8, to be honest with you. I don't know.
I think you can get to 8-8. I mean, I browsed
earlier. For them, for the schedule that they have, for the ability on their roster, I just don't know if they can do that. I mean, that's going to be a big task for them. It just is. I mean, you have to look at it realistically. It's going to be tough. I mean, I see more like 6-10, to be honest with you. I mean, I hope that they go 8-8. I hope they go 10-6, but it's going to be tough. I mean, you look at their schedule, and really, how many games they're only going to be favored right now in maybe 2 or 3 games. As of right,
it's all a bunch of nonsense at this point. I mean, you kind of know, I get it, but you don't really know.
Well, there are teams that could be disappointments. I mean, you're right about that. Maybe the Cardinals aren't going to be as great as we think they are, and maybe the Rams are really going to fall on their faces this year. So maybe the West won't be as good as we think it is. It's going to be. That's always the hope. Maybe when they're playing the Ravens of Pittsburgh, maybe something happens to Roethlisberger and they're they're kind of a feeble offensive team again. I mean, it could happen. I mean, the only thing is, I don't know if they're quite ready for prime time yet. I think that they're heading in the right direction. I just think they need another draft, and to get some more get some pass rushers on the team. I just don't know, Rob, where the sacks are going to come from, unless their defensive coordinator is that good and their coach is that good. I just don't know where they're going to get quarterback pressures.
So, and we can forget about the Redskins. They stink.
They're playing for Lawrence, no doubt.
Them
and the Jaguars.
I think there's a few teams that are going to be playing for Trevor.
Them and the Jaguars.
I mean,
the Jaguars are going to be downright awful, and I think Carolina is going to be pretty bad as well.
But Carolina, they just signed Bridgewater, so I don't know if they're.
Yeah,
they could pick them.
Bridgewater was good when he was with New Orleans, Rob. But I mean, let's be honest. You could be good playing for that team. I mean, with all the weapons they have and the home field advantage that they have, I mean, it's not hard to get that offense rolled up. I just don't know about Carolina. I have a feeling it's going to be a bad year for them.
But I believe in Rule, so I think that he'll get it together and be a good coach in this league. But getting back to the East, it's the Cowboys, not the Eagles, that have the shortest Super Bowl odds in the division according to FanDuel. So 17-1, the Cowboys are to win the Super Bowl. Eagles only 19-1. So I would assume that would make the Cowboys the betting favorite in the East.
In the East,
I'm just not buying that. Going on with Dak Prescott, Brad.
They're pretty evenly matched. I mean, I think the Cowboys have a little bit more talent on offense, and I think the Eagles are a little better on defense and special teams. And I think overall, I think the Eagles are a little better than the Cowboys. But I mean, it's pretty close. I mean, it's really close. I think with those two teams, it's going to come down to who can stay healthier, for the most part of the season. I think that's going to be the key, and keeping Carson Wentz on the field also. I mean, that's a big part of it as well.
Well, speaking of quarterbacks being on the field, what's going on with Dak Prescott in Dallas? He seems to be dead set on getting his $40 million a year. So now they signed Andy Dalton, they have a security blanket. So now they can tell Dak, sign your tender for the franchise tag, negotiate with us for a long-term deal, or you can sit out.
Dak is not getting $40 million from anyone.
Someone should tell Dak that, because
whoever his agent is, he's giving him really bad advice. He's not gonna get that much money. He's not that good.
He shouldn't get that much money.
He's not gonna get that. You think that he deserves to make more money than Aaron Rodgers?
My point being is, I see this being a dark cloud over the always drama-filled Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, well, yeah. They are kind of like, they are kind of like that.
And then you have Andy Dalton coming in. Andy Dalton could be fine with all those weapons in Dallas. Could be. So I see.
Yeah, he would. And Prism, you're right about Dak wanting 4 years and Dallas wants 5. Dak wants 4 years because he wants to hit the open market twice.
Which is fair. I would try and scheme it that way.
Yeah, I mean, you can't blame him. That's just what he wants to do. But I mean, still $40 million a year.
Is Dallas sold on Dak Prescott?
I mean, he's a good quarterback. Don't get me wrong, but my problem with him is that he doesn't really have the arm to throw the ball outside. He's a good in between the lines kind of quarterback, and he can move a little bit, but throwing the ball towards the sideline, that's just not going to. He's not good enough. He doesn't have a strong enough arm to make those throws, and he's not accurate enough to make those kind of throws. I wouldn't pay him that kind of money. I just wouldn't. I don't think he's that good that he justifies getting that. But if he wants to try to get it, that's fine. He's going to lose a year if he sits out, though.
That's correct. Now, why do I feel like that if the Dallas Cowboys and Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones legitimately believed in Dak Prescott as no doubt about it, franchise quarterback, they would. Why would they have a problem with these years? The years thing seems like an excuse not to give him the big contract.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you about that, but I think it's I think it's more or less him asking for $40 million a year. I mean, he wants $40 million guaranteed a year. I mean, come on. He's got a very high opinion. Let's put it this way: he's got, and I'm going to say it nicely, he's got a very high opinion of himself, and somebody needs to let him.
He doesn't have the goods. Is the problem?
He doesn't. I mean, he's not better than Patrick Mahomes.
No shot.
Come on. I mean, yeah.
Or what's that contract going to look like?
I would give Mahomes $40 million a year.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, he's the essence. He's going to be the essence of greatness, and you can just see it. But Dak Prescott, no. I mean,
so I have Eagles 10 wins, maybe 9 wins, maybe 11 wins, winning the division. I have Cowboys, Giants in that 8-8 range, just missing the playoffs. There's a lot of good teams in the NFC. I think it's going to be hard for 2 teams in the East to make it with all the good teams out there in the NFC. And I have the Redskins as afterthoughts, 4-12.
I think 4-12 might be good for them. They're not going to be able to score.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to be a little nice because
I think you got that team has 3-13, 2-14 written.
They're probably gonna steal a game or 2 against the division. They'll probably they could beat the Bengals, they could beat the Browns, they could beat teams like that. So give them a little bit of a benefit of the doubt. But yeah, it could get bad there in Washington.
It is. I mean, they did nothing really to improve their offensive line. I mean, they built up their defense, but they're not going to be able to score. And their defense is going to be on the field the whole game. So what's going to happen is for the first 3 quarters, their defense will keep them in every game. But in the fourth quarter, they're going to be exhausted and they'll get blown out. So, I mean, that's what's going to happen to them. Unless by some miracle, Dwayne Haskins can find a way to get the ball down the field with no receivers and no offensive line. It's going to be very tough for them.
All right, let's get to some comments here. Mike Parker, first up. I think it's more likely a 2-bid division than a 1. So I'm assuming that everyone, if people disagree with the poll and think it's going to be a 2-bid division, then I'm assuming that most feel it's going to be the Eagles and the Cowboys, or Cowboys and the Eagles, however you want to slice it up. 2 from Mike Parker also chimes in, 2 from the East, 2 from the South. So that'd be, then you need 1 more wild card. So I think that the Buccaneers and the Saints will make it. Mike thinks the Cowboys are going to make it along with the Eagles, and then the West is just loaded.
Well, I can see Minnesota and Green Bay both making it.
I don't know about Green Bay. This toxic relationship they keep fueling the fire of with their quarterback Aaron Rodgers. The chicken's got to come home to roost at some point.
I think that they made some big improvements there last year. I mean, they're the real deal. I think that they're going to be tough. That between them and and don't throw out the Bears now with a real quarterback now. I mean,
with Nick Foles.
Well, Nick Foles. Listen, I know he's not the second coming of Patrick Mahomes, but you know what?
To some he is.
He's a very very good game manager type quarterback. And he can certainly help the Bears. He's a heck of a lot better than Grubitsky, whatever.
Mitchell Trubisky, yeah.
Thank you. I mean, Mitchell is just not. He's just not good, and I think Nick can make a big difference for them. The Lions are the Lions; they'll stink like they always do. The West, Seattle and San Francisco are going to be very very good again, and then. You have to wonder if the Rams are kind of going to start falling by the wayside, and the Cardinals, are they ready? Are they ready to take that next step? That's the question.
Now, I can make an argument for any one of those 4 teams to win that division. Rams, it's a little harder, but I can make the argument that they win the West. They've done it before.
Rams?
Yeah.
Oh, they could. I mean, they're a strange team. I mean, they just are, and they're not consistent. I don't know what's going to happen with them with their running game now that they're officially have moved on from Todd Gurley. I mean, I just don't know with them. They're a strange team, and they're hard to figure.
Greg Malakovic and Tommy Arnone are in the chat. They did great interviews with major league talent Devin Smeltzer, and Zach Gallen.
Good job, guys.
Stream that, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Google Play, iTunes, anywhere you get your podcast, A2D Radio content is available. That goes for all the shows here at A2D Radio.
If you guys didn't listen to that interview last night, you got to listen to it.
Yeah.
Real nice job by those.
And Zach Gallen, he's a really – that's a good get. I mean, Smeltzer, but Gallen, at least right now, I mean, Gallen is just a really good-looking up-and-coming pitcher.
Yeah, he looks the part. I worked with his dad at SRA a few years ago.
And then Greg checks in. What's up, fellas? He #agrees to the poll. Something always happens to either of us or the Cowboys, just like every year. We beat up on each other, giving us a one-bid division. Tom disagrees. NFC East way better, in my opinion. Yeah, because the Cowboys have a better coach, and I really like what the Giants did this offseason. And you got to think the Redskins will be a little better with Ron Rivera.
They're going to have a good defense, but it's going to be on the field the whole game, and they're going to get tired in the fourth quarter.
Are they going to have a good defense, or are they going to have a good defensive line?
No, I think they're going to have a pretty good defense, quite honestly. I don't think that – I think their defense is going to be pretty good. Just that their offense is no good. Their offensive line is horrible. They've got no weapons. They're going to have a hard time scoring points.
Peter Evans, check out Pete on Birds of a Feather tomorrow at 8, every Tuesday at 8 o'clock. They talk Eagles. They do a great job. The East will have 2 playoff teams. And then Tom Arnone thinks the Eagles are the favorites in the division. Prism 280, the NFC could be 10 deep with potential playoff quality teams. NFC East division hasn't had a repeat division in years. That is true. The NFC East is notorious for having a new champion each year. So, I mean,
listen, right now, as far as I'm concerned, with the Eagles and the Cowboys, and again, I've got no agenda. I'm not an Eagle fan, not a Cowboy fan. Okay, I look at those two teams. I think it's almost a dead heat. I really do. I mean, I think it's all going to come down to who's healthier. I mean, football has always been a game of attrition, and I think that is going to be the difference this year with those two teams.
Prism 280 also, to me, the teams I wouldn't be surprised in the playoffs: Philly, Dallas, Tampa, New Orleans, Minnesota, Green Bay, Niners, Seattle, Arizona. Yeah, so I mean, a lot of the teams he's speaking to the depth of the NFC, which is, in my opinion,
absolutely. Well, that's why it's going to be. But that's your point, Rob, and I get your point. That's what's going to make it hard for the NFC to have 2 teams in the playoffs. Because
and then the East, the East draws the East. They drew a really easy schedule last year, playing the AFC East, which was terrible, and the NFC North, which
was okay.
Now you got it. Now you got to face up against the NFC West, which I think is the best division in the league.
Yeah, I agree with you.
North, which means you're getting battles with Pittsburgh and Baltimore.
Right, and Cleveland and Cincinnati, we'll see. Cincinnati is not going to be the pushover they were last year.
No,
they had a terrific draft, and I think Joe Burrow is the real thing. He looks tremendous.
Tom Arnone, Carson, 2020 MVP, book it. #no notes. I mean, he's always going to be a contender for MVP, in my opinion, if he's healthy.
Yeah, he has the ability to do that.
I think they did a great job getting not only better receivers, but receivers that fit with Carson.
Well, they could certainly run. That's for sure. The question with these receivers, some of them especially, are, can they catch the ball? They certainly have a track. They can certainly make it a track meet with the speed they have out there, no doubt. And Zach still has his security blankets. Carson has his security blankets with
Zach Ertz,
and Goddard. I mean, no doubt about that.
But I mean, I think to the receivers, Carson does better when guys can separate. Carson doesn't seem to do well with the anticipation throws and the 50-50 balls, which is why I think he struggles to get on the same page with Alshon Jeffrey sometimes. So I think you get small speedsters that can separate. I think that fits Carson's game a lot.
I think he's still evolving. I mean, he's still a young quarterback, so I don't know that's necessarily going to be set in stone right now.
Prism, yeah, the Maruk interview did already happen. Go ahead and stream it. And yeah, he was a great interview. You should check it out. And
yeah, Dennis Maruk was a phenomenal player. I mean, he it wasn't just 81-82. He had 82 and 83. Also, I can't remember if it was 81-82 and 82-83 or 80-81 and 81-82. But he scored 50 one year and then he scored 60 the next year. So I mean, and as he said, he didn't play with Mike Gardner, folks. He didn't play with Ryan Walter. He played with Ballantyne and who else? Carpenter, I think. So I mean, he didn't. It's not like he had the greatest players to play with. That guy was just a magnificent player.
And then Bob Brinkman, Cowboys have too much going on, too many distractions. New head coach. Let's see how the new coach deals with Jerry. I mean, that's always an issue down there dealing with Jerry. I think fine down there.
McCarthy dealt with Wolf, didn't he? For the most part. So I mean, I don't think that's going to be that big of a deal. I think the problem is McCarthy's offense too antiquated in today's NFL. I mean, I think wasn't that kind of his issue when he had Aaron Rodgers?
Well, I mean, Aaron Rodgers seems to burn through coaches.
Yeah, he's a coach killer, no doubt.
Aaron Rodgers sounds like a pain in the ass. Aaron Rodgers is good. Don't get me.
That's the problem.
Well, I mean, Aaron Rodgers is good. The problem is he knows he's good, and that's where the issues come in. And I don't think Green Bay has helped the situation at all by drafting 0 receivers in what was a totally loaded draft for receivers.
Yeah, but you know what? They may think that he's so good, he makes them all good anyway. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what they're necessarily thinking. I think they had a really bad draft, but they still have a good team. I mean, there's a lot of talent in that team. No doubt.
Marquise Motley, Dak Prescott got offered 5 years, $175 million with $106 million guaranteed. I don't understand how you don't sign that deal if you're Dak Prescott.
Because Dak Prescott thinks he's a $40 million quarterback.
But that's $106 million guaranteed? I mean, come on, man.
You know what? If he plays this year without signing that extension, he's foolish. Because if he gets hurt.
Well, I mean, if he plays, then he's going to get 33 on the franchise tag. So.
Okay. But why not? But why not sign your extension? And
especially when you're not that good, I agree. But
I mean, you're not that good. You're not Patrick Mahomes. Get it through your head. I mean, I think that his management has done an awful job in representing him and letting him know what the market should be with him. Because I don't see anything. I wouldn't want him for $40 million a year.
Well, he wants more money than Dak and Jared Goff. Dak wants more money than Carson and Jared Goff. That's what his agent is telling him that he should be getting. But he's not better than Carson Wentz.
No.
And I'm not so sure.
Just because the Rams screwed up with Goff, that doesn't mean that he should make that kind of money.
Yeah, I don't know that Dak Prescott's better than Jared Goff.
And we don't really know. If Jared Goff, I don't know if Jared Goff was not that bad. He just had a horrible Super Bowl.
Good season, horrible Super Bowl. Then
season last year.
9 games last year.
Huh?
They won 9 games last year.
Oh, I know they did. Their defense last year, for whatever reason, was not good.
Then you have Ramsey and Donald, maybe the 2 best defensive players in the whole league on the same team.
Yeah, that's why
I had to sacrifice a little.
that's why it's a little strange that their defense just was, because their defense really did cost them the playoffs last year. Yeah, they gave up way too many points.
And we got some banter about the interviews yesterday. Check them out, stream them. Prism #. Eagles hard games are at home. Marcus Miley, Eagles hard games at home that can be the difference. Well, I think they're very fortunate to get New Orleans and Baltimore at home.
Oh, absolutely. Especially
they have to go to Green Bay. They have to go to San Francisco, which I'm not scared of the Niners at all. They can only go down from last year.
That defense is awfully good, and it's still
they are. But I mean, is it going to be another Jared Goff syndrome where maybe the book's kind of out on Jimmy G? And
it's not necessarily the offense. San Francisco's defense is just so good. I mean, they're so good and they're so fast. I mean, it took San Francisco. It took Kansas City till the fourth quarter to really figure out their defense. And you look at all the talented offensive players that Kansas City has. I mean, the Eagles don't have that kind of talent, and it took them till 5 minutes to go in the game to really start moving the football on them. So, I mean, I don't know. San Francisco's tough. They're not as good on the road. We know that.
I mean, I get it. And maybe I'm being a little cute here on May 11th, but there's always these teams. There's always turnover in the playoffs in the NFL. It's roughly 50% turnover each year. So some of these teams that we're talking about as being loaded and Super Bowl contenders, whether they get injured or it just doesn't click, like not all the teams that made it last year are going to be in the playoffs this upcoming year. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, no, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But you would think that that they would be a pretty darn good team. I mean, they are young. If nothing else, they're young and defensively they're fast. I mean, I think they're a team that's built for the long run, and they like to run. I mean, they like to run the ball, and they like to and they play good defense, and they wear down the other team. I mean, as far as their offense goes, they did score 48 points against the Saints. The Saints have a pretty good defense.
Dean Jones, with all the talent and minimal injuries, Dak and the Cowgirls cannot make a real playoff run. Okay. I mean, I don't. You get to Dak Prescott if he does make it to January somehow, some way. I mean, I don't trust him to have a good game in January. Dak, he's never done it before. Why would he start now?
When has Dak ever had a good game in January? Really?
He was dreadful. He was dreadful in Week 16 last year in Philadelphia.
Yeah,
You want to blame his shoulder injury, whatever. But I mean,
well, both of us have
his his gutless $100 million receiver didn't do a damn thing to help him out either.
No, but you know what? Dak, the Cowboys' offensive line didn't do a very good job blocking for Zeke. I mean, the Cowboys they came to Philadelphia and they laid an egg.
And then I'll say it again. I said it earlier in the show. I think that this Dak Prescott situation has the potential to be a black cloud over this franchise for this upcoming year. What if Dak sits out the first few games like Emmitt Smith did in the 90s and Andy Dalton, what if he goes 2 or 3-0? Because they have just a loaded offense with Zeke Elliott, a great line, and great receivers. Andy Dalton can do that. Andy Dalton's been in the playoffs before.
Andy Dalton has also quarterbacked some pretty good teams over the years too.
Yeah. I mean, is he Peyton Manning? No, but I mean, he can get the job done. I'd rather have Andy Dalton as my backup quarterback in Philadelphia than taking Jalen freaking Hurts at pick 53 in the draft.
Yeah, well, you know what though? It's with the Cowboys, it's going to be about how their defense plays this year, because you pretty much, regardless who's quarterbacking, I think you can pretty much be guaranteed they should score a lot of points this year. They should, but you got to wonder about their defense. I mean, they're going to have Clinton Dix now. I think they signed him to be a safety now. I mean,
yeah, they have him.
Yeah, they got him. I mean, they picked up a few guys. They did pick up a few guys, but I think that they lost more than they gained, overall on defense.
I want to bring up the schedule. I want to go through these schedules. I want to start with your Giants. I think it's a good way. I don't really necessarily want to do wins losses because that's
hard to do at this
immature and foolish.
Yeah, because you don't know who's going to be healthy.
We can look at the primetime games. We can look at where the division games are. We can look at where the bye weeks are. So let's start. We'll go through the East. We'll start with the Giants. Really intriguing game here to start your guys' seasons on September 14th. The early game of the Monday Night Football opening week double dip. You're going to play the Pittsburgh Steelers at home. Now,
I think it'll be a tough game. It's going to be a big test for their defense.
Yes, and I think it's not an unwinnable game for the Giants.
No, because the Steelers are not a good road team. They really are not a good road team. They haven't been a good road team for a while now. Even when Roethlisberger was playing well a couple of years ago, for whatever reason, that team doesn't show up like they should on the road. I just don't. The Giants defense, I just don't know what we're going to see. I mean, that's the unknown. I think they did a nice job bringing in a lot of offensive linemen. They brought in some beef to block for Barkley. I think that they still have enough receivers that Jones can score some points for them. I just don't know with this defense. I really don't.
But, no Le'Veon Bell, obviously, for the Steelers. No Antonio Brown for the Steelers. Juju is a good receiver. I mean, James Conner's a decent running back. Not an unwinnable game for the Steelers. And I think it'll be a good test looking at the other side of the ball for Daniel Jones. Because the Steelers, no matter what their record is, they're going to hit you in the mouth and they're going to have a good defense. So I think that's a good,
it'll be
test right off the bat for Danny Dimes there.
And he's going to, I'll tell you, in week 2, he's going to have a test too, because the Bears, although they struggled last year, they had a good defense. Their offense was awful. But I would expect that their defense, once again, is going to be very, very good. And that's going to be a big test for him as well. And then, unfortunately, game 3 doesn't get any easier.
Well, hold on. Let's go back to the Bears for a second. Just one thing on the Bears. If the Giants want to get to 8-8 and be a contender for one of them wild card spots, the extra wild card spot in the NFC, at Chicago, I know it's on the road, but that's a game you got to win.
Oh, I think it's a must win for them.
If you want to be contenders.
Well, Rob, their first 2 home games are Pittsburgh and the 49ers.
See, now the Niners, they get it at an interesting spot because you got a West Coast team coming east, and the game remains at 1:00. So I always like to favor the East Coast team that's playing in their normal slot in that trade. Now the Niners are much better than the Giants.
The Niners are an elite football team, and the Giants are not. I mean, that's going to take one heck of an effort, and the Giants' defense is just going to have to be drop dead perfect to win a game like that, because you can't expect the Giants to score a lot of points against the 49ers. I mean, no team can really, unless you're New Orleans, no team can really expect to score a lot of points against that 49er team in the NFC.
Danny Jones going to get tested. Going to get tested right off the bat.
First 3 weeks, I mean, as I said,
with 3 unbelievable,
3 real good defenses, and then it's going to drop off a bit. He's going to play the Rams and the Cowboys, who are not great defensive teams, and then the Redskins. But I mean, the first 3 games of the season, Danny Jones is going to have one heck of a battle on his hands. And the Giants have got to find a way somehow. If they're gonna have a successful season, they got to at least be. They can't be worse than 1-2. They can't be 0-3 going to the West Coast against the Rams. That's an almost impossible task.
Yeah, then you mentioned it. You go at LA, at Dallas.
Yeah, I mean, you got to go 1-1 on that road trip. You know, I just don't know if the Giants are capable of doing this. I don't know that they're not yet. Not yet. I mean, then they're home to the Redskins. They should win that game. But then they're going to be going to
So you
Philly.
got three straight division games.
Yeah. Then they got a Thursday night
5,
game.
6, and 7. And then they're at Philadelphia on Thursday Night Football.
Right. I mean,
that's a little bit of a break in itself because you just get on the bus or the train and go down the turnpike to play a Thursday game. It's not an extraordinary travel.
Oh no, not at all.
That's a little bit of a break in my opinion for the New York Giants having just.
Well, who are the Eagles playing the week before that?
Oh, jeez. I'll have to look at it.
Okay.
I'll have to look at it. I don't have it. I don't have it committed to memory yet. Then you have Tampa Bay. That game's at home. That's a Monday nighter. Crowd should be rocking. Maybe the Giants can find themselves in the neighborhood of 500 and get that crowd rocking. It's going to be very hard to beat Tampa Bay this year, especially with the young defense you guys have with Brady and Mike Evans, Chris Godwin,
and Gronk.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean just
Mike Evans and they've got some guys. They've got some guys who can play down there. If they can line it up and score. We'll see. I mean, again, it's really going to depend. I think their season really depends on these first 3 games. If they can somehow find a way to be competitive in those first 3 games.
Lose Brad? All right, we lost Brad.
I think we lost Brad.
We lost Brad. Brad is gone.
This is a first on the sports.
Brad is gone.
Yikes!
I bet you he forgot to plug his computer in.
Probably. Well, we are still live.
We are still live. The show must go on. So,
yes.
Then they have a bye week. So then you go Cincinnati, at Cincinnati, at
I see Brad. Here we go. Let's see.
At Arizona.
Sorry about that, guys.
There we go.
Did you forget to plug your computer in?
No. I had just gotten up for a second, and I accidentally hit the wrong button. Just give me 1 second, okay?
All right, no problem. So I'm looking at this Giants schedule. 1 and 2. If you want to be 1 and 1, so you're 2 and 3 through 5. You got to beat the Redskins 3 and 3. They're not going to win in Philadelphia. They're not going to beat Tampa.
Yeah.
They can beat Washington. Cincinnati, you got to beat. Cleveland, they can beat. At Baltimore, you're not winning. So, I mean, making the playoffs is going to be a tough. I see 6 and 10, 7 and 9, maybe 8.
I can see that happen.
And that's pretty much all gonna depend on Daniel Jones.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
To put up points.
All a lot on Danny Dimes this season.
Giants passing.
Here comes Brad.
My year, LOL.
Sorry about that, guys.
That's all right. We're good. Brad, we got some comments here in the chat. Marquise Motley, Giants passing on Isaiah Simmons made my year. What did you make of them? What did you make of them passing on Isaiah Simmons and taking the tackle out of Georgia, who I really like?
Well, I mean, I told you guys before the draft that they were probably going to pick an offensive lineman. They need to fix their offensive line just as much as they need to fix their defensive line. I mean, there's no difference there. They're both bad. I think they did a really good job fixing their offensive line. Their defensive line. I mean, I think what happened was Gettleman thought that after Chase Young, there just wasn't anybody worth using a first-round draft choice on that would help the defensive line. So he went offensive line. and he picked his guy. And I got to trust him because he had a real good draft last year. So I would think that in all likelihood he knows what he's doing with the draft. I love McKinney. I love that pick.
Yeah, safety out of Alabama. Look,
that was a first round pick. To me, that guy's a first round pick. So
I think Gettleman gets a really bad rap as a GM. I mean, he's made his mistakes in free agents, but he's done a really good job drafting. I mean, they didn't have many bad years down in Carolina.
No, not at all.
For the most part, he pretty successful tenure down in Carolina.
My only argument with Gettleman is Leonard Williams. I mean, I'm just not sure about him, and we're spending a heck of a lot of money on him, and I'm not sure that was the right thing to do. But
well, I mean, if he gets to the quarterback and gets some sacks and makes some plays, you forget about all that. What he's making.
Well, the one thing that he did do last year when he came in, when they brought him in, the Giants were significantly better against the run when he came in than they were before he came in. That was the one thing he did. He did actually really help. I mean, the pass rush thing, he didn't get a lot of sacks. He was getting there, but he wasn't finishing. He wasn't finishing, and I think that's what a lot of people are noticing. So we'll see. I mean, again, I think they're a work in progress still. I think they're still rebuilding. I still think they're a year away.
One more solid offseason, and maybe we can see the Giants. I did it kind of in my head. 7-9, 6-10. I think that's a fair expectation for the Giants.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I just at this point, I don't see it happening. I do think that next year they will probably go after a top-notch defensive lineman and probably go for a receiver. But it wasn't really necessary to do that this year. I think what they're doing, they wanted to beef up that line so that they can have Barkley running the ball and control the game and control the clock. Because remember, the best defense is a good offense, and if you have a good ball control offense and you keep your defense off the field, that's not a bad thing either, Rob.
Prism 280. The Giants getting a safety from Alabama is going to really help the defense. I expect him to get a handful of balls back for the offense in New York.
I would expect the same thing. I think he's Landon Collins, but I think he's Landon Collins and can cover. He's a lot better cover guy than Landon Collins. And keep in mind, I mean, really, last year the Giants didn't have Landon Collins, so the defense took a hit because they really didn't get anybody to replace him.
And then, I mean, can the Giants go 3-3 in the East?
Well, you're asking me, are they going to win a game against either the Eagles or the Cowboys? I am quite confident they can win both games against the Redskins. I think that they are significantly better than the Redskins. I think that there's the difference between them and the Redskins. The Redskins are awful. I think the Giants are teetering on mediocrity. They're teetering. They're just maybe a little bit below mediocrity right now. But because they're young, I think that they will get better as the season goes along. I just don't know if they can do it. I mean, based on the schedule right now, it's going to be tough. But we'll see. Why they play the games.
All right, so that's the Giants. Let me get the Cowboys schedule up here. Just had it.
They have a tough schedule. Don't kid yourself.
Just had it. Well, they open on prime time against the Rams.
I thought they played the Redskins.
The Eagles play the Redskins.
The Eagles play. Okay, gotcha. So they play.
Which seems to be every year. I'd like to see a little variety.
Where do they play?
They're going to be at Washington.
No, I mean the Cowboys.
Oh, the Cowboys. Yeah, they're going to open up. So the LA Stadium.
That's going to be a tough game for them because I mean the Cowboys knocked the Rams out of the playoffs last year. And I think the Rams would like to return the favor.
That's a good point. That's a toss-up game.
Yeah, it is. That's a tough one because again, we don't really. The Rams are the mystery team this year. We don't really know what's going to happen with them. They're such a a weird team. It's hard to figure what's going to go on.
It's all about Goff. Like, is Goff going to play like the second pick in the draft, or is Goff going to be the loser he was last year? And same goes for McVay.
Last year, I don't think it was Goff as much as it was their defense. Their defense was just not good last year. I mean, their defense,
Ramsey, they have Donald.
I mean, their defense, I thought last year was really disappointing. Considering the talent they have on that defense, they should have been better than that.
So they're going to play the Rams. That's a Sunday night football game in Los Angeles. They're going to open up that new stadium there in Los Angeles.
Yeah, it's going to be that's a tough spot for the Cowboys. Isn't that really too bad?
Yeah, I would slightly favor.
I favor the Rams.
I would slightly favor Dallas in that game.
I think the Rams are going to be a 2.5-point favorite.
Then they play Atlanta. That's their home opener in week 2.
They'll kill Atlanta.
Got to think that they're beat Atlanta. Then they go at Seattle.
Yeah, that's a loss.
Really hard game.
Yeah, that's a loss.
And then they have 3 home games in a row. They have Cleveland, your Giants, and the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals is a Monday night football matchup.
I think that's 3-0.
So this is setting up well. If they can win the first game against the Rams, you could see them going, let's see, Rams 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, this could be typical Dallas Cowboys fast start and then fade at the end. They could easily be.
They could be 5-1 first.
5-1 if you beat the Cardinals, which I think is a hard game, but they do have it at home.
Yeah, it's not in Arizona. So
and then they're at the Redskins in week 7.
That should be a win too.
Shouldn't have a problem there. I don't think the Redskins are good at all. Then they get in a kind of a tough stretch here. Then they have at Philadelphia and home against Pittsburgh.
That's going to be 2 losses.
8 and 9.
Yeah, that could easily be 2 losses.
At Philadelphia is going to be a Sunday night football contest at 8:20.
They go get destroyed just like they always do on Sunday night football.
Yeah, and the how the rivalry's kind of gone is the Eagles. They win at home. Each team wins their home game.
Yeah,
That went last year. And Pittsburgh, that's always going to be tough. Then they come back from the bye week. They're at Minnesota.
That's a loss.
That's a very hard game.
Yeah, that's a loss.
Then you get another bye week against the Redskins. Then you're at Baltimore.
That's another loss.
That's a Thursday night football game in Baltimore. They're
going to lose that game for sure.
Then they're at Cincinnati.
That's a win.
And then you close. You're home against San Francisco. That's a Sunday night game.
If they get lucky and San Francisco will have nothing to play for.
You're home week 15. I think they're going to have some stuff to play for, whether it be the top seed or the division.
Oh, the Niners, you mean?
Yeah, the Niners.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at the Niners might have things wrapped up by then. That's if you're the Cowboys, you're hoping that.
Yeah.
If the 49ers,
the game is in Dallas. Then they play Dallas. Then they play Philadelphia in Dallas. Excuse me, and then they close at New York.
Okay, so they're going to close. If it comes down to the end of the season, they'll probably be okay playing the Giants.
As it stands, you start 5-1. Then you only got to win 3 games to be 500. You win 4 games, you got 9 wins. That's gonna.
I think they're going to end up being 9-7, 10-6. I could see them making the playoffs. They won't go anywhere. They'll be gone. They'll be gone very quickly. First game they play, they're going to lose. But I think they can make the playoffs.
I'm trying to figure out what because they play a second place schedule.
Yeah, so they have to play Minnesota.
They catch the Falcons at home. So that's a much easier draw than the Giants got playing Tom Brady and the Bucs as part of the third place schedule.
Yeah, which is not
a big break there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Looking at the schedule for the Cowboys on May 11th, I mean.
Yeah, but at the same point, Dallas has to play Minnesota and the Giants play the Bears. So, I mean, that's.
Yeah, so it evens out.
It evens
out. Opening up that Rams stage, they can get 6 or 7 wins. Bob Raymond says Dallas can get 6 or 7 wins. Not sure if he's talking about the Cowboys or the Giants there. I assume the Giants.
Yeah, I would think so. I think the Cowboys are gonna. I think the Cowboys are gonna go 9-7.
So the Cowboys, Bob has the Cowboys starting 0-3.
I hope so.
Rams, Falcons, Seahawks. Me as well. I mean, I hate the Dallas Cowboys.
I mean, I just don't know about the Falcons. I can see them losing to the Rams, and I can see them losing to the Seahawks. The Falcons. I mean, unless they have a big turnaround. I mean,
I don't think Dan Quinn's that good of a coach, and he somehow manages to keep his job every offseason.
Yeah, I mean, last year, really, that division, other than the Saints, was pretty bad.
It was bad, yeah. The Cowboys are not better than the second place team in the North or the West. That's from Badgers.
Agreed.
So the second team in the North is probably going to be the Packers. I don't know.
They're not better than the Packers. They're not better than Seattle.
That I agree with.
So I mean, you're
Packers this year.
Yeah, they're not better than Minnesota either. I know you hate Minnesota, but Minnesota's a good team.
Oh, Minnesota's loaded.
Yeah, they're a good team. I mean,
loaded.
Yeah, they're not. They're it's going to be tough for them to be better than Minnesota. I don't see that at all.
But I think they cut some. I think they have Cousins, who I'm not a fan of. You trade Diggs, yeah, but you draft Jefferson, who I think is a stud. And I think they did a good job cutting some washed up dead weight in Everson Griffin and Xavier Rhodes, who just fell off a cliff.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to him last year. Did he end up signing with somebody?
Not that I know. Everson Griffin I think he went to Cleveland.
I'm talking about Rhodes.
Rhodes went to I think Cleveland.
Cleveland's like the cemetery for all the.
Yeah, I want to say Cleveland.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, and then the division the Vikings play in is it's just not that good.
No, but I will say this about Cousins, and I know I've been pretty tough on him for a long time, as you have. But you know what? That game he played against the Saints, I thought it was the best game he's played in his entire career.
Yeah, Rhodes is on the Colts, not the Browns.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
my mistake, but still, I don't think
in that division maybe he can be a factor, but in the NFC North, he's no factor.
And the Skins will win 4 or 5 games, Bob said.
Oh, I don't think so.
We went through the Giants' schedule.
I think the Skins win 2 or 3 games. I think it's them and Jacksonville are going to be battling in the Dexter Lawrence sweepstakes.
Yeah, New England's going to blow too.
Yeah, but they're not going to be as bad as them.
I don't know about that. I really don't. I think
I can't imagine a Bill Belichick
be a total disaster in New England this year.
A Bill Belichick coach team is not going to be that bad. I mean, he may have an off year and be 7-9, 6-10, but there's a difference between that and being 2-14 or 3-13. I don't see that at all. I can't imagine that's going to happen.
Michael D'Andrea, Eagles 11-5, Dallas 9-7, Giants 7-9, Redskins 4-12.
That's a pretty good. I think that's a good job, Mike.
Is 9-7 going to be enough to get one of the 7 playoff spots? Is the question. All right, we did the Dallas. I mean, it's tough to tell in May here, but the Dallas Cowboys schedule, especially the front half of it, really can allow them to pile up some wins. So we'll see. But again, I just see this Dak Prescott situation just being a
if Andy Dalton has to play
controversy over.
If Andy Dalton has to play against those 3 teams, they could easily be 1-2.
Which 3 teams is that?
The beginning of the season, those first 3 games. At the Rams, at Seattle, and then home for home for the Falcons and at the Rams and at Seattle. That's that. Andy Dalton plays. They're 1-2 for sure. I mean, they might be 1-2 against with Prescott playing. As I said, that Ram game is going to be a very tough game for the Cowboys. If you don't think the Rams don't have that game circled on their calendar after they got humiliated in a game in which if they would have won, they would have made the playoffs, then you know what? Then their coach needs to be fired right now. Because I mean, wouldn't you? If the Eagles took a beating like the Rams at the end of the season, and they got the team that beat the hell out of them game one, I think the Eagles would be ready. If the Eagles had to play Seattle the first game of the season, you'd be ready for that game. Especially if it was here.
Prism 280. Cowboys can outscore everyone potentially. They're using Kellen Moore's offense this year with limited offseason. McCarthy will be the difference in game / clock management. Defense is the only thing changing. I mean, I do think Mike McCarthy is better than Jason Garrett. I think there's going to be a newfound sense of accountability on the Cowboys. You're just not going to have some idiot clapping his hands on the sideline trying to get everyone a high five after they go 3 and out for the 6th straight time. That's just not going to happen with Mike McCarthy.
I agree with that. Again, McCarthy, I mean, and I've been supportive of McCarthy, but remember, he only won 1 Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. You know, I mean, you can make the argument that he should have won more than 1 Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers.
I hate that argument, though. It's hard to win the Super Bowl.
No, I know.
You are.
Well, I know, but I mean, when you have a top of the line quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, I mean, that was an awfully good team.
I don't know. I think that's a bad argument. I just think that's a bad argument. That's all. I mean, you say what you want, and
fair. I mean, you know, that's fair. That's fair.
I don't know. It's hard to win the Super Bowl. To say he has 1, and that puts him in elite company. If he ever does get 2, that puts him in really elite company. Because
it does.
Drew Brees only won 1 Super Bowl.
That's true, but that was
Favre only won 1 Super Bowl.
But in Drew Brees' case, though, really it was never his fault that they didn't win more than 1 Super Bowl. Their defense really let him down almost every year.
And that's my point.
Yeah.
You got to have a lot of things go right to win the Super Bowl. Dan Marino didn't win any Super Bowls. Steve Young only won 1 Super Bowl.
No, you're right. You're right.
So, I mean, the list of with multiple Super Bowls, you get your Elways, your Peyton Mannings, Eli.
Not too many. No, you're right. You're right.
Brady had 6, which is unreal. Kurt Warner 1. So I mean, I think that's a lazy argument to criticize Aaron Rodgers for only winning 1 Super Bowl.
I'm not criticizing Aaron Rodgers. I'm criticizing Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, but it's the same argument. It's the same thing.
Yeah, but he's the coach, and he's the cook, so to speak, because he helps select the players. You know,
I hear you.
You can't say that the coach doesn't have any input in the drafts. All coaches have input in the drafts and in free agency.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, you know, he was coaches are recruiters too, and for whatever reason, he had the best quarterback, and he only won the Super Bowl once. I think he should have done better than that.
Okay.
I mean, listen, when the Giants beat Aaron Rodgers in the and won the Super Bowl in 2012, the Packers never should have lost that game. I mean,
You're probably right.
They were 15-1.
That was a fart. And
the Giants killed them in that game.
That was the wild card game, right?
That was that that wasn't a wild card. Was that a wild card game? I'm trying to remember. No, that was
the quarterback.
That was the second. That was the second round. That was a wild card weekend.
Is this the game where it was so cold?
No. That was with Favre.
That's what I thought. Yeah,
that was the NFC Championship game. the second year the Giants won, they beat the 49ers in the
That's
NFC
right.
Championship. It was the week before. The week before they beat the Packers in Green Bay. And I mean, listen, the Giants got on a hot streak. They were a real good team, but they should not have lost that game. I mean, they were terrible in that game. Rodgers wasn't prepared. McCarthy did not have that team prepared. I mean, the Giants got out to a huge lead. And the Packers were never able to catch up.
All right, let's get into the Eagles schedule before we get into some updates on what baseball's doing, what basketball's doing, what hockey's doing in terms of getting back on the field in regards to the coronavirus. But we have the Eagles schedule. They're going to open up Sunday, 1 o'clock at Washington. Got to win that game if you want to be a serious contender, Brad.
No, I think they win that game. I think the Redskins will give them a battle for 3 quarters. But as I've said a couple of times now about the Redskins, it's going to be a season-long theme. Their defense is going to do a nice job keeping them in the game, and then they're going to blow it the 4th quarter because their defense is going to be on the field the whole game because their offense stinks.
Then you're home against the Rams, home opener against the Rams at the Link. So the Rams are going to be on a little bit of a short week.
That's a swing game. They're going to go
a little bit of a short week, yeah, but I really like the Eagles here.
Yeah, I don't see the Rams. I don't see the Rams
coming across country after a primetime game against the Cowboys. They're coming across country, playing at 1 o'clock against what I think the Eagles are better than the Rams.
I think that's going to be a tough game for the Rams to win. I would agree with you.
Then week 3, you're at the Bengals.
I think that's an easy win.
You're home against the Bengals.
Yeah, you're home.
1 o'clock, Joe Burrow in Philadelphia. I guess
it's going to be a long day for the rookie.
You would hope having no fans at that game could be an advantage for the Bengals, but I still think that the Eagles win that game. I look at these first 3 games, and it seems too easy, Brad. It seems too easy. There's got to be something. They're just going to go bang, 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 3-0 right off the bat.
Yeah, why not?
Sure about that. I see 2-1 somehow.
You think they're going to stub their toe against a bad team like they did with Detroit last year?
I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a Negadelphia person, but I think the toe stub could be at Washington in week 1. I see it being, look, every team's ready to play opening day. It's cliche, but everyone's 0-0 on opening day. They have a new coach. They have a new regime. Rivera's a good coach. He'll have him ready. Like you said, their pass rush, I don't know, but I see shades of the Miami game last year where the Eagles just kind of slept walk through the game and lost to a bad team. And it's also would serve as a good wake-up call because
boy, they lose. I'll tell you what, they lose in Washington.
The people will freak out.
That would be. I mean, come on.
But that's what the Eagles have done. They lose these puzzling games where they look like complete shit, and everyone counts them out, and then they go on a run.
But not against a divisional opponent, though.
That's part of the reason why I think it could be a toast-up game. It's
like I said,
I don't know. All I'm trying to say is I don't think they start 3-0. I think they start 2-1.
Listen, if you told me they could stub their toe against the Rams, that I could buy.
That's not really a toe stub though, Brad.
No, but the thing is,
a toe stub is losing to a bad team, a team you're better than.
I get that, but I mean, I could see them losing to the Rams.
Maybe the Bengals could be a toe stub game. I don't know because
if they were playing in Cincinnati, yes.
I hear you. But, there's always these games where
yeah, but usually games like that, it's the quarterback. It's the quarterback that's not. It's usually against a team whose quarterback is not bad and has always shown glimpses of being pretty good. That does stuff like that, like Fitzpatrick. He's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Fitzpatrick has been known in his career to have those kind of games. there's no question about that. He's had a lot of games like that where he comes out and he's Fitzmagic, and then he's Fitztragic the next week. You having to catch him.
Well, guess what? He's always fucking Fitzmagic when he plays the Eagles. I'll tell you that.
Well, the one year he played for the Jets, the Jets almost made the playoffs.
Because here's a game now. After the 3, they're going to go out to San Francisco, 8:20 Sunday Night Football. I think the Eagles have a real good shot to win this game.
No, I think they have no shot at all.
I think the
Niners run both offensively and defensively. They're walking into a hornet's nest.
Well, this is because let's say they beat the Redskins, they beat the Rams. Let's say to get my 2-1 in the first 2. Let's say they stub their toe against Cincinnati. Joe Burrow comes in, they take him lightly, he shreds them up. AJ Green's healthy, has a big game, they lose.
Okay, then I could see them come. Then
I see them bouncing back against a San Francisco team that, they can only go down from last year, is my thinking. Right? They can't be as good as they were last year. They were like the team of destiny last year. Everything went right for them.
Yeah, but they're such a big, strong team. Yeah, the physicality of that team.
I get it, but let's not sell the Eagles' offensive and defensive line short either, because that's
offensive line
team as well.
Their offensive line is nowhere nearly as good as it was a couple of years ago. The Eagles, they still have.
But you still have Kelsey playing at all-pro level. You have Lane Johnson, who I think is the best tackle in football, right or left.
Yeah, but you lost Big V, and he was a nice player to bring in. I think
Brandon Brooks might be the best guard in the league. He showed no signs of slowing down. And you have a first-round pick stepping in at left tackle in Dillard. Or maybe Peters comes back. The Eagles have a very strong unit.
If they have to bring back
both sides of the ball.
Rob, if they have to bring back Peters, that's a problem.
Yeah, that would not bode well for the
that would be
Dillard. I agree with that.
That would be a problem. So I can't.
But, if you get the camp and Dillard's not up to snuff, then why not bring Peters back in?
Yeah, well, I'm just saying if he's playing and he's playing a lot, that would not be a good thing.
Okay, now this is also one of the reasons why I think that you got to go out to San Francisco and you got to get a big win. Because week 5, you're at Pittsburgh. I think that's a loss. And then you're home against Baltimore, which I also think is going to be a very tough game.
But those are 3 tough games in a row. Boy, those are really tough games.
I'm surprised the Eagles-Ravens game didn't garner any primetime notoriety.
They could flex that game.
Do they flex that early in the season? I'm not sure they flex that early in the season.
They can. It depends.
So,
if they're both, listen, Rob, if they're both undefeated, they're going to flex the game.
So 2-1, 3-1. I don't think at Pittsburgh's an unwinnable game, but that's a very tough.
It's a different story when you play the Steelers there than it is when they're on the road. Steelers are notoriously not as good on the road as they are at home.
Then you have 2 division games at home. So to answer your question from earlier, the Eagles play the Ravens at home before playing the Giants on that Thursday night football game.
That could be a trap game.
The Giants game?
Yes.
Boy, if they were, look at this.
It's
really hard. At San Francisco, at Pittsburgh, Baltimore, the Giants, and then Dallas.
Who do they play after the Giants?
Dallas at home.
So you're going to tell me that isn't a trap game with the Giants? That's going to be a tough game for them. You're playing the Ravens.
I don't think the Giants are bottom feeders at all. It's definitely going to be a hard game.
You're playing the Ravens, which is going to be a very tough game, and then you're playing the Cowboys after the Giants. I could see them overlooking the Giants.
I just don't see how you beat I know the game's at home and anything can happen, but I don't see how you win that game against the Ravens. They're just too good.
Well, it depends. A lot of it depends if the fans are there too. But it's going to be tough. But the Ravens are a lot like the 49ers, Rob. The
the Ravens have Lamar. And if Lamar is anything like he was last year,
and there's no reason to think he won't.
It's just a huge problem.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't see them winning that game either.
Then you have a bye week, a really good spot for a bye week in week 9, right in the middle of the season. So I think that there's nothing like having a bye week in week 4. That totally blows. That just doesn't do anything to help you recover. You're just getting into the swing of the season and got to take a week off. So I like the week 9 bye.
They have a bye week 9. It's a perfect time.
And then week 10 and week 11, you got 2 road games. You're at the Giants and at the Browns. So
those are 2 games.
If you want to be a Super Bowl contender and you want to win the division and you want to play in January, you got to go 2-0 coming out of the bye.
Yeah, they're gonna listen. They're gonna have to earn it. They don't have an easy schedule this year.
Nope. Then you're home against Seattle. This schedule is really tough. I mean, obviously things can change. Then you have Seattle at home. That's a Monday night football game. Russell Wilson, that's never an easy game. Then you're going to Lambeau in week 13.
After Seattle
at home.
Eesh.
Then you're home against the Saints in week 14.
This is a brutal schedule that they've got.
I don't know. I don't want to say any game's unwinnable because it's the NFL and anything can happen, but I don't see how the Eagles match up against Baltimore and New Orleans. I just don't see it happen. Then you have Arizona. Then you got week 15. You got to go out to Arizona on the road. That's a big-time swing game. The Cardinals game and the Rams games are big-time swing games.
I agree.
Because I think Arizona is going to be pretty good. I like Kyler Murray, and obviously you
I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be. I think they're going to be. They're an improving football team. I don't know if they're there yet. We'll have to see. I guess my question with Arizona is their defense.
I mean, you get Simmons. You have Patrick Peterson. I mean, we'll see. They're gonna have to score. They're gonna have to score points to win games for sure. They're definitely an offensive-minded football team.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if they're ready. They're ready for prime time to be a team like the Eagles. I don't think so.
And then the Eagles close it out at Dallas, and then home versus Washington.
Interesting. So they start and end against Washington.
Yes.
Okay, and the last game, that second to last game, are they at Dallas or in?
They're at Dallas. Yes.
Okay, that's
the 4:25. So I mean, you got a murderer's row. You have the Rams, the Niners, the Steelers, the Ravens on the schedule before the bye week. Then after the bye week, you have a stretch of week 12 home against Seattle, week 13 at Green Bay, week 14 home against New Orleans, week 15 at the Arizona Cardinals, week 16 at the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, the one advantage the Cowboys have on you is that they're going to be playing Atlanta and you're going to have to play New Orleans.
Extreme advantage to the Cowboys.
That's a big advantage.
Because I don't see the Falcons being anything this year.
You guys have to play Green Bay, and they have to play Minnesota. So that's probably a wash.
Kind of a wash, yeah. And I would even say that the Eagles.
Both of you are going to have to earn that one.
So I mean, that's a really tough schedule. It's not like last year where you got the Lions and the Falcons and just the schedule just littered with bad teams, especially down the stretch. It's the total opposite last year. Week 12 through week 16,
they're gonna have to
a murderer's row of opponents.
Yeah, they're gonna have to. Doug is gonna have to make sure that they come out ready to go every week. They can't have against that schedule. They can't play games where they're playing bad for 3 quarters and then expect to win in the 4th quarter. You're not going to get those kind of wins against teams like them, like who they're playing against.
All right, so Bob Brinkman has Eagles losses, Niners, Ravens, Saints, Pack, and Dallas. Throwing a bonehead loss, and he got 10-6.
Well, there's always a bonehead loss for everybody. I mean, that's
and then they're going to have a bonehead loss, and then they're going to beat a good team.
Probably.
Maybe a team that you didn't think. Maybe you beat the Ravens. Maybe you beat the Saints at home. Marcus Motley point. They're going to get the Saints. That's a December game in Philadelphia. So, Drew Brees, older quarterback in the cold. We'll see. Maybe they can steal that one. Prism 280. Way too early predictions. Bills versus Chiefs AFC Championship game. I like that prediction a lot with the Bills. I think they're a really good team.
Yeah, I'm all over the Bills this year. I think the additions of Norman on defense is going to give that defense a swagger, and Stephon Diggs as a receiver, they get another weapon that they're going to be real tough.
And then he has the Eagles and the Cowboys in the NFC Championship game.
How exactly is that going to happen?
It could happen.
5 and a 6 and a 7, or no, a 3 and a. Well, if the Eagles, the Eagles are going to have the best record in the league for that to happen.
Well, it's just
that's going to be.
He wants to see the hype. He wants to see the.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking how. I'm just trying.
That's all he's getting at.
How that can. Anything could happen. I suppose it's hard. It's hard for two teams in the same division to end up playing in the championship. That's all.
I'd expect the Saints to be a win for the Eagles at home. I don't see how you can expect to win the Saints. Can they beat the Saints? I
don't think you can expect that.
You can't expect to beat the Saints. The team is just loaded. They had a great draft. They have Breeze. They have Kamara. They have Michael Thomas. They have Jared Cook at tight end. Lattimore's a great corner. They have Jordan up front.
They have a real good pass rush. They get a lot of sacks. They're a tough physical team now. Their defense is.
They got to be the favorites in the NFC, right?
Well, if they're not the favorites, they're going to be the co-favorites, along with teams like
Niners and Seahawks, maybe.
Yeah, they're going to be co-favorites. It's not favorites.
And if the Saints don't do it this year, if they don't at least win the NFC this year, I don't want to hear from you again. Just go to bed.
Well, if the Saints don't get to the Super Bowl this year, then I think the run is going to be over, because how many years?
Breeze will be out, and you have to break in Winston or Taysom Hill or figure something else out at quarterback. But look at the last 3 years. All this team does is bark their mouth. They bark their mouth because they got screwed by the Rams because the ref didn't call the.
They did get screwed that year.
Yeah, but Brad, they had the ball. They had the ball in overtime.
True.
They had chances to win that game despite the bad call.
I agree with you, but
everybody gets bad calls. Losers blame refs when they lose. Losers.
That was a tough one, though.
No doubt about it. And then last year you go to the wild card game. You're 8-point favorites at home. You totally take the Vikings lightly, and you end up going home. So this is the third year in a row they're legitimate contenders. So if they don't do it this year, shut up forever.
I agree. No, this has to be the year for that. I just don't know if it's going to be Kansas City or the.
Let me bring these odds up. Hold on.
Ravens.
I want to bring the odds up.
Okay.
On my phone. See if it loads. Did you guys watch the UFC fights on?
No, I didn't.
All the fights were knockouts. It was highly entertaining. It was a breath of fresh air from the.
Sports on for sure.
Where's football? Football. What's that noise?
My dog is experiencing technical difficulties right now.
Oh no.
You okay, buddy? Oh, it's okay.
Doesn't sound all right.
No, he's
So the Saints are 12-1 to win the Super Bowl. Are 6.5-1 to win the NFC.
Who's the favorite to win the NFC? Them? Niners?
The Niners are the favorites.
And what are their odds?
They are 4.5-1. They're plus 4,600, so they're 4.6 to 1. And then, like I said, the Cowboys are the favorites in the East. Eagles are plus 140 as the second favorite to win the East. So if the Saints don't do it this year, window closed, and I don't want to ever hear from you again.
No, you're right about that. This should be their year.
And I'm sorry. I mean, the Patriots at plus 120 to win the AFC East.
What?
Like the favorites to win the East, or the Bills who are plus 130. I mean, slim favorite, but I think the Patriots.
I have faith in Bill Belichick too, but
third. Jeez, is your dog about to die?
Nah, I don't know what's wrong with him. But I'm just trying.
Sounds brutal.
I'm just trying to.
Brad, so we are on the road to recovery in terms of the coronavirus and getting sports back. I just mentioned the UFC fights on Saturday night. Went on in Jacksonville. It was a great success. Everybody loved it. It was a breath of fresh air. It was live professional sports to watch. We're going to have NASCAR on Sunday. We're going to have a golf exhibition on Sunday. And the MLB has a tentative plan in place. The owners have made a tentative plan to return to the field. They're going to start spring training in early June. They're going to start the regular season around July 4th. Again, this is just a proposal. This needs to be approved by the Players Association. But it looks like it's going to be an 82-game season. It doesn't look like they're going to reconfigure the divisions like had been rumored. Might have been a lot of fun. But it looks like they're going to stick to their division, and they're going to stick to geographical interleague opponents. It looks like the Yankees, the Mets, and the Blue Jays are going to have to play at their spring training facilities.
So what is it, 81 games?
80, between 78 and 82 games is what the proposal said.
Well, it's going to be an asterisk type of season to win. Though.
It is going to be an asterisk type of season, but they have to play, Brad.
No, I know.
I'm a big believer. I understand the coronavirus is a serious global pandemic, but we can't.
Yeah, absolutely. But
we can't stay locked up like this forever. We got to get cracking a little bit here.
Yeah, that's true.
So an 82-game season, albeit an asterisk season, is better than nothing.
Oh yeah, and they do need to play. I just don't see any way that you're going to see fans in the stadium though.
No, absolutely not. I mean,
I don't see that. Not this.
You might not have fans in stadiums until 2021. So, I mean, we're a long way off from having fans in the stadiums.
Yeah,
you still there, Brad? Okay.
Yeah. No, we're good. I'm sorry about that.
I think, I think we're a long way off from having fans in the stadium. Just because there's not fans in the stadium doesn't mean you can't play the games.
No, I agree. But it's not the same without the fans.
No,
it just isn't. It's unfortunate.
You are correct. And then it looks like they're going to have a universal DH.
Oh, that's good. That's a good.
So
thing.
they're just going to slide that in. So they're going to have the universal DH this year, and they're going to keep it for the rest of.
They're going to have just playing in the no.
We lost Brad.
Oh boy.
We lost Brad. So baseball.
I see him again. Here we go.
Sorry about that.
Baseball on the brink of returning. And it looks like there's going to be 14 playoff teams, seven in each league.
In baseball?
Yes.
7 playoff.
That's the proposal.
Well, I mean, it's 80 games.
Does that work?
Yeah, if it's 80 games.
Well, I guess the thinking is you can't determine who the best teams are in an 82-game season, so you just extend the playoffs a little bit, which
no, that's the right thing, and they're trying to get a bang for their buck too.
But
maybe the playoffs you'll have games with fans in them. I don't know. I don't see baseball having games with fans in them this year.
No, NFL's not going to have any fans in it.
No, at least not for the first couple of months.
The playoffs you can have fans, but I don't know.
But it's going to be
sports.
Yeah,
we need sports, and we need to get going.
I agree. Have you seen the hockey proposal?
I have not. No.
They're looking at July 1st, the training camp in June, and I think 3 weeks training camp, and then July 1st they're going to go right to the playoffs, and they're going to take the top 24 teams in the league.
And is this going to be like a neutral site tournament, or are they going to play?
I haven't heard anything about that yet. I know there's talk about certain cities, like Florida. I've heard Arizona and Florida are two of them where they're going to, the majority of the games are going to take place in those areas where the coronavirus is low, and they're saying the first 24 teams. So you'd be looking at number 1 playing number 24, number 2 playing 23, and so on down the line. So I think the way they looked at it, I think as far as my boys, it looks like they would be playing the Toronto Maple Leafs right now in the first round of the playoffs if that happens. Which, by the way, I like that matchup because the Rangers did beat them up pretty good this year. So we'll see what happens there if they play. The Flyers would be probably playing, maybe the Blackhawks or some very weak team because they're right.
Yeah, well, they're up there. Prism 280. If it's only 82 games, why not go back to the old school way of just the top teams in each division getting into wild cards? Because more playoff teams equals more revenue. Prism.
Yeah, and I know they want the top 24 teams, but they want
any extended playoffs. It's just extra revenue.
Yeah, they're trying to make more money. So I mean, are there going to be teams that are really not deserving of making the playoffs, like the Blackhawks? Yeah, but yeah, I mean, you can make that argument, but I mean, they're not playing a whole season. They're missing 15 games. So the teams that are right on the teams that were right there and having a shot to make the playoffs, they're giving them a chance to play in the playoffs and maybe get a run. Listen, the best teams are going to win. That's that's what should happen. It depends. If it's 2 out of 3 in the first round, you should be okay. But if it's a 1-game tournament, that could be pretty hairy.
That's
because in hockey, a 24th team can beat a 1 team. That's not impossible.
In 1 game, anything can happen in 1 game.
That's what I'm saying, and especially in
you got to do at least 3.
Yeah, you would think so. Because
you got to do at least a series
in hockey. Because a goalie can steal a game,
big time.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that a million times.
Or if Carter Hart comes out, and if Carter Hart just doesn't have it.
How many times have we seen the Rangers and Flyers in playoff series where the Flyers I remember one year the Flyers had 106 points and the Rangers had 85, and the Rangers knocked them out in 3 straight in the 80s. I mean, it can happen. It's happened before, and it's going to happen again. I mean, look at Tampa Bay last year and Columbus. I mean, who would have expected that? I mean, Columbus swept them, and Tampa Bay had one of the best regular seasons in the history of the NHL.
You're not lying. Prism 280. Remember 7-9 Seahawks? I don't want to see that in any sport. So, yeah, the Seahawks made it at 7-9 a couple years ago in football, and they actually won a playoff game.
Yes, they did. They had a home game, too, which that shouldn't have happened. But, it can happen. I mean, listen, this is a different year, and you're going to
I hear you, and I hear the people.
You're going to have a little patience. You're going to have a little patience.
I like my playoffs being exclusive.
Yeah, I do too.
To be an elite exclusive club to make the playoffs. It should be a real accomplishment to make the playoffs. So when I see these watered down playoff scenarios, it makes me cringe a little bit, but it's also, like you said,
It's a different year. But you know what? If you're truly the best team, you're not going to lose in the first round. You're not going to win in the second round. You'll win. You know, if you were a shaky team, you know, that played in a crappy division, then you're not going to win. I mean, it's that simple. You know, man up and play.
All right, so sports are on the road to recovery. That'll about do it for this edition of the Sports Hounds. We'll be back next week. We'll see if we can scrounge up another interview for the fans, but sports are coming back. We're going to have live action to talk about here on A2D Radio and A2D Live soon enough. Until next Monday, I'm Rob. He's Brad. Frank did a great job producing. We'll see you next Monday.
Night, everybody.